Good day, fish tankers. I did a video a while back about which active substrate is the best for your aquarium, and by that I compared aqua swirl to dirted substrate like I have here in this little cube tank next to me. Now today I'm going to compare two inert substrates that contain no nutrition in and of itself, and that you will have to add it into the substrate by way of root tabs or maybe fish waste that accumulates over time. So then we have two choices basically. We have gravel or we have sand. Now where does sand begin and gravel end, and which way around? I would say I have different kinds of sands here in my tank, but one here is about the consistency of sand that you find on the beach, and the other one it says gravel on the packet, but I regard it as a coarse sand. It's got about a 1 millimeter grain size. Now if it's bigger than that, let's say for arguments, then it is gravel. Alright, so sand or gravel, which is better? You know, let's say you don't even want to have plants, you just want something for the bottom of a tank. Which one of the two is going to be better? Obviously I'm going to say sand, but I've got dirted substrate, so you need sand to cap that. But let's say now you don't have a dirted substrate and you don't have aqua swirl, you don't have the money for aqua swirl, and you don't have an inclination to go through the process of making a dirted tank. You just want a fish tank, and you want to know which one of the two is best for bottom, sand or gravel. If you're interested in talking about that, then stick around. Okay, the first factor, of course, as always, is price. Now, sand or gravel can be dirt cheap. You can simply use pool filter sand from what you get from your garden center or your pool center, or you can use black blasting sand. And if it's gravel, you can also go to your garden center and use some pea gravel. If you're unsure whether it's suitable for aquarium use, it's probably a good idea to do it anyway. Take a little bit of it, pour some vinegar over. If it fizzes, you know it's got minerals that's going to dissolve into your tank, then it is a no-go. If it doesn't, then you can go ahead. But it can be very cheap. You get some more expensive sand and gravel like JBL Monado or Seachem Black or Seachem Fluoride Red, and that's a different sort of gravel. And you even get the classical clown vomit gravel with all the colors of a rainbow. If that's your thing, then fine, go ahead. But so you can run the whole gamut from very cheap to a bit more expensive, but it's not as expensive as aqua swirl, so it's a relatively cheap option out there. Then the aesthetics. Well, you don't have to have a hugely thick layer of it, you know, so it doesn't have this effect that your dirted substrate's got. So it's more or less the same. I would think maybe gravel wins it because there's more color variety. As I've mentioned, you can get different kinds of colored gravel, or gravel that has got a specific color, you know, that's black or that is red. You get that in sand as well, but you do get it, I think there's a bit more color variation in gravel. So I think with the aesthetic department, maybe the gravel slightly wins out. Now the ease of installation, you put it on the bottom of an aquarium. That part is easy, but in order to get there's some preparation required. And that's a big thing of sand and gravel. You have to wash it to get all the dust and gunk out before you can put it in the aquarium. Here and there you get some that's pre-washed. Of course, you're going to pay for it. But, you know, as far as the washing process goes, washing bit by bit under a running tap is still a method I find works best. Then I would say gravel is easier to wash. The dirt comes out quicker than it does with sand. Sand can be very tedious. So ease of installation, I'd say maybe gravel wins there. Then if you're not going to have plants, or you're only going to have plastic plants or fake plants, artificial plants, then it really doesn't matter. But if you're going to grow plants, which one is better for plants? Now you've got to understand both of them are inert, they're not active substrates, so there's not food for the plants to take up. But plants will grow in sand. You see there, plant does grow in sand. Look at the root going down, even though this is a dirted substrate. But if you were to put root tabs in it, plants will still grow in sand. If you go into gravel, same thing. If there's no root tabs, maybe over time the fish waste will go down into the gravel, and if there are lots of plants, they'll start using it. For instance, if you have lots of Aspergillosia planted in your gravel bed, they'll start using that. So I think in terms of growing plants, just the fact that a gravel bed can collect some fish waste over time and the plants can feed off it. Maybe gravel is slightly superior if you're going to go this way of using a non-active, inert substrate. Now, that's a part over there. And if we look at water quality, gravel and sand is inert, so it doesn't release anything into the water. So unless you have something like crushed coral where you want to buffer your pH up, it's not going to do much in the characteristics of the water or your water parameters in terms of water quality. The thing is here, if you have plants, the waste will lie on top of a sand bed. It will very slowly permeate downwards. So if there's plants, it's going to take longer to get there. But if you just allow, if there's no plants and you just allow the waste to lie there on top of a sand or to work its way down in the gravel, and there's not enough plants to take care of it, if you have a non-planted tank, you're going to have a water quality problem eventually, because you're going to have too much muck trapped in that gravel bed. And then you can have, especially your bottom dwellers, you'll sometimes see they have bloody spots or their skin aren't nice and so on. That's when there's just too much gunk on the bottom with no plant life consuming it, and that's when you get that. So water quality wise, I would say, you know, sand is made maybe a bit easier because you can just siphon any fish waste away on top from the top of a sand bed. Whereas the gravel, if there's no plants, you can have a lot of waste collecting there. So I'll go for sand in that aspect. So water quality wise, if there's no plants and a lot of stuff accumulate in gravel, you can end up with trouble if you never clean it out. So if you have a sand bed and there's no plants, make sure that you siphon just hover the siphon above the sand bed and siphon it away. If it's gravel and there's no plants, let's say you have a lot of big South American cichlids, then you've got a gravel vac, you've got to take that piece of rigid pipe with a flexible pipe and clean that gravel bed. And that's what the issues will be with water quality. Now, another thing then is longevity, lifespan of your substrate. And there, both of them wins hands down. You know, aquas will sometimes last about 2 years. Dirted substrates, you can argue how long they last. I think they last pretty long. But gravel and sand is forever like diamonds. It's not going to fall apart or go away. So it will last for the life of an aquarium. Certain more sophisticated gravels or substrates like fluorite, Seachem fluorite black or red or Monado, they'll absorb some nutrients from the water column. So there you have it for me. I think by far an active substrate, aquasoil or dirty substrate, is better for growing plants. If you do want to have gravel or sand and just put in root tabs, or if you're very patient, wait for some waste to start feeding the plants, then sand and gravel can be an option. And if you're not going to have any live plants and just maybe a lot of South American cichlids, those are your pros and cons of using sand and gravel. And I think another thing that needs to be considered is, of course, the type of fish that you want to keep. For example, if you're having goldfish, maybe go for a more sandy bottom, because they like to pick up the sand in their mouth and spit it out. If you have things like geophagus, or if you have things like shell dwellers or corridoras that like digging around or scrounging around in that substrate, you rather want sand. Or if you do have gravel, you want the gravel particles to be nice and rounded. Beware of sharp-edged substrates with fish that stay on the bottom and like to sift through the sand. Then stay away from things like black blasting sand or sharp-edged gravel. You know, consider the kind of fish that you're going to put in there. Well, that's it from me, guys. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And until I see you again, let me know what you think in the comment section. And take good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.